Stop for a second. Because not all US Sacagawea dollar coins are equal. Some look completely normal, but inside them are hidden mint mistakes that collectors actively hunt in circulation. Today we are breaking down 3 Sacagawea dollars, from early strike variations, to die chip errors, and even hidden weight and planchet mistakes, that can turn a simple $1 coin into hundreds or even thousands of dollars if identified correctly. Now look at this coin more carefully than you ever have before. It still looks like a normal Sacagawea dollar. Golden color. Same portrait of Sacagawea carrying her child. Same eagle flying on the reverse. Same $1 face value. To most people, nothing stands out at all. But in the world of coin collecting, this is exactly how valuable mistakes hide, inside coins that look completely ordinary. The 2001 Sacagawea dollar is one of those coins where the real value is not obvious at first glance. It is hidden in a tiny detail, a manufacturing flaw so small that most people would never notice it, even if they were holding it in their hand. And that flaw is called a die chip error. During coin production, massive steel dies are used to strike thousands of coins at extremely high pressure. Over time, these dies begin to wear down. Small cracks form. Tiny pieces break away from the surface. When that happens, the die does not stop immediately. It keeps producing coins. And every coin struck after that damage carries the same defect. That is how a die chip error is born. On certain 2001 Sacagawea dollars, this damage appears on the reverse side, specifically around the eagle design. If you look closely at the tail feather area, you may notice something unusual. A raised metal bump. A small blob-like mark that does not match the smooth flow of the design. It does not look like part of the original artwork. Because it was never intended to be there. It is a physical trace of a broken minting die. To an average person, it looks like a minor imperfection or even random damage. Something you would ignore without a second thought. But to collectors, that small raised feature changes everything. Because now the coin is no longer just currency. It becomes a recognized mint error variety. Here's what makes this coin even more interesting. These die chip Sacagawea dollars were not special releases. They were not limited editions. They were not separated from circulation. They were released into everyday money flow. That means they entered banks, vending machines, cash registers, and change jars across the country without anyone stopping them. And many of them are still out there today. Still moving through circulation. Still being spent. Still being overlooked. In the numismatic market, confirmed examples of 2001 Sacagawea die chip errors have sold for strong premiums depending on condition and visibility of the error. Well-preserved examples with clear, visible die chips have reached $1,500 to $4,000 plus in collector sales. But the important part is not just the price. It is the psychology behind it. Because most people do not recognize a die chip when they see one. They assume it is damage, dirt, or a scratch. And that misunderstanding is exactly what keeps these coins undervalued in circulation. Now imagine this for a moment. A coin passes through hundreds of hands. A cashier sees it. A customer receives it. A vending machine accepts it. And every single time, nobody notices the same truth. That tiny raised mark on the eagle is not damage, it is a minting accident frozen in metal. This is why collectors actively search for Sacagawea dollars in bulk rolls, bank boxes, and old storage jars. Because errors like this do not disappear. They simply get redistributed into millions of everyday transactions. And sometimes, one of those coins ends up in the right hand, the hand that knows what to look for. So the 2001 Sacagawea dollar teaches one simple lesson. Value is not always visible. Sometimes it is hidden in a tiny imperfection that the world ignores, but collectors pay thousands for. Look at this coin carefully. At first glance, It looks completely ordinary. A golden-colored US dollar coin. Sacagawea on the front carrying her child, and a flying eagle on the back. Simple, clean, and familiar. Most people see it and immediately think, just $1. But in the coin collecting world, that assumption has cost people thousands of dollars. Because the 2000 Sacagawea dollar is not just another modern coin. It is a transition coin, a product of a moment when the US Mint was under extreme pressure to launch an entirely new dollar system. And whenever a new coin series is born under pressure, mistakes always happen. In the year 2000, the United States Mint was doing something massive. They were replacing the old dollar system with a new golden-colored coin designed to circulate widely in everyday life. That sounds simple on paper. But in reality, it meant high-speed production, constant machine adjustments, and thousands of coins being struck every minute. The Philadelphia and Denver facilities were running at full capacity. Dies were being tested, adjusted, replaced, and reused. Quality control was trying to keep up with speed. And in that chaos, small variations started slipping through. Some 2000D Sacagawea dollars show subtle but noticeable differences compared to standard circulation coins. Not dramatic errors like missing designs or wrong dates. But something more dangerous for collectors, strike variation. The surface detail on certain coins appears slightly sharper. The relief of Sacagawea's portrait feels deeper. The eagle on the reverse looks more defined in certain lighting angles. To an average person, this means nothing. But to a numismatist, these are clues. They suggest that the coin may have been struck during an early production phase, when dies were still being adjusted and pressure settings were not fully standardized. In coin collecting terms, this is where value starts to form. Because the earliest production stages of any coin series are always the most unstable. And instability creates rarity. Now here is where it gets interesting. Most people assume all Sacagawea dollars from 2000 are identical. But in reality, the Mint made multiple adjustments during that year alone. Die polishing changes, strike pressure calibration, and metal flow corrections all affected how the final coins turned out. As a result, some coins ended up with stronger visual characteristics, what collectors often describe as early strike energy. These coins are not officially labeled as special releases. They were never announced as rare. They were never pulled from circulation. They just entered the system like everything else, and disappeared into everyday money flow. That is why they are dangerous. Because rarity that is not announced is the hardest to detect. In the collector market, Sacagawea dollars with unusual strike quality or early production traits have been sold for significantly higher premiums than face value. Depending on condition, preservation, and verification, some examples have reached hundreds to several $1,000s in specialized numismatic sales. But here is the real twist. There is no obvious checklist for the average person to confirm this at home. No mint mark difference. No obvious design change. No dramatic error. Just subtle differences in strike quality that require comparison, lighting, and experience. Which means most of these coins are never identified. They are spent, lost, or stored away in jars where they stay unnoticed for years. Think about that for a moment. A coin designed to be used as everyday money. Quietly carrying production variations from the Mint's most intense launch period. And the only difference between a normal dollar and a collectible variation is something most people never think about, how it was struck, not how it looks at first glance. So here is the truth about the 2000D Sacagawea dollar. It is not just a $1 coin. It is a snapshot of a rushed minting system trying to launch a new era of currency, and in that rush, leaving behind small variations that collectors now chase across the country. And the most important part? These coins are still out there. Still passing through hands. Still sitting in change jars. Still being spent without a second thought. Now we reach the most silent and most dangerous coin in this entire lineup. Because this one does not rely on what you can see. It relies on what you cannot see. At first glance, the 2009 Sacagawea dollar looks completely normal. Same golden color. Same Sacagawea portrait holding her child. Same flying eagle on the reverse. Same size. Same design. Same everyday $1 coin. If you dropped it on a table, you would not think twice about it. And that is exactly why this coin is so important. Because in rare cases, some of these coins were struck on incorrect metal blanks during production. And when that happens, the entire identity of the coin changes, even though the design stays the same. During mint production, coins are made using blank metal discs called planchets. These planchets must match exact specifications, correct metal composition, correct thickness, and correct weight. If even one part of that system is off, the coin still gets struck. Still gets finished. Still gets released. But it carries a hidden manufacturing mistake. That is what makes the 2009 Sacagawea dollar so interesting in error collecting circles. Because certain examples from this era are believed to show weight or planchet variations that fall outside standard mint tolerance. Now here is the key point most people miss. You cannot identify this error by looking at it. There is no visible crack. No design shift. No missing detail. No obvious mark that screams error coin. It looks 100% normal. Which is exactly why most of these coins pass through everyday circulation completely unnoticed. To detect this type of issue, collectors rely on weight comparison. A standard Sacagawea dollar has a precise official weight specification. When a coin falls outside that range, even slightly, it becomes a candidate for a potential minting variation. And in numismatics, weight anomalies are serious. Because they indicate something fundamental went wrong at the production stage. Not damage after minting, but a mistake during minting itself. This is what makes wrong planchet or weight variation coins so valuable in the collector world. They are not decorative errors. They are structural errors. They prove that a coin was created under incorrect physical conditions. And that is why confirmed examples of similar Sacagawea dollar anomalies have sold for hundreds of dollars to over $1,000 plus, depending on certification, rarity, and condition. But the real twist is not the price. It is the invisibility. Because unlike die chips or visible mint errors, this coin does not reveal itself visually. You cannot just look at it under light and instantly know. You need tools. You need comparison. You need awareness. And most people have none of that when handling everyday money. So what happens? The coin gets spent. It gets mixed. It gets lost inside circulation. And it continues moving through the system like a completely normal dollar. Now imagine the scale of that. A coin that looks identical to millions of others, but carries a hidden production deviation that only specialists can detect. That is what makes this error so dangerous for collectors, and so easy for everyone else to miss. Because humans are visual. We trust what we see. And this coin does not give you anything to see. Only something to measure. So the Sacagawea Dollar series teaches a very different lesson than most coins. Some value is not visible at all. It is hidden in physics. And that is why collectors treat these coins with extreme seriousness, because every unnoticed example is a lost opportunity hiding in plain sight.